Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, this is going to be a fun episode. If you want to buy real estate, sell real estate, whether you want to open up your own business, whether you want to move to South Florida, hang out on the beach, drinking pina coladas, we're going to talk about that today with my friend Andre, military veteran, done great things in uniform, even better things out of uniform. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. If it wasn't for OVF, Operation Veteran Freedom, I would have never met Mr. Andre. We would have never became friends. So I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Liam. And because of them, my book hit #1 because they helped me build my funnel. So nice. I want to say thank you guys. And then the other person I want to thank is me. We came out with our brand new coffee, Vertical Momentum Coffee. But guys, I'm not selling this today. I'm actually giving it away. So if anybody out there writes the word coffee or cafe in the chat, they will be entered to win a free shipment of coffee right to your home of Vertical Momentum Coffee. So just write coffee in the comments. So guys, like I said, this is going to be a fun episode talking about all things business, real estate, South Beach. If you want to maybe get some secrets on some of the stars on South Beach, we might talk about that. But Andre, my brother, what's going on today?
What's going on? Good morning. Great to be here.
Yeah, we've been friends a while. I've been trying to get you to come on, but we've both been so busy. So yeah. I'm grateful that I got to meet you and become friends with you in the OVF family. So how's your day going and what's going on?
Phenomenal. Just busy as all heck. I'm excited about our 501c3 that just got on board about a couple of weeks ago. So tackling that and trying to find direction.
Yep, and then you got a podcast, and we're going to talk about that too.
Well, we got a struggling podcast. It ain't like yours, We're it's a what do you call it when you're building it in flight? Like we're trying to figure it out as we go. But it's we got the folks to do it, but we're still trying to be more consistent with our content and with our broadcasts.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about where you come from, where you grew up, and what were you like growing up?
Oh, how was I like growing up? That I was ready for that one. Well, I was a pain in the ass growing up, but I grew up in New York City in the 70s and 80s. Yes, I'm that old. I'm aging myself.
East Coast.
East Coast, and I grew up in Brooklyn, Queens, New York City till I was about 17, and then I moved down to Miami, and then from Miami I joined the Marine Corps a couple of years later, and did 12 years in the Marine Corps, and then 10 years working for the Department of Defense as a government contractor.
Now I work, I'm from Jersey.
Oh yeah, what part of Jersey?
I live right by Giant Stadium. I grew up in Newark.
Okay.
But I've spent a lot of time in Yankee Stadium. I'm a big Yankees guy. So talk to us about what it was like growing up in the boroughs, and then going to South Beach. Because at one point, like I think we're about the same age. I might be a little bit older, but at one point, South Beach wasn't what it was. Also, it looked like it was.
Oh, it was awesome. Magical.
It looked like Little Havana for a while.
Yeah, so South Beach was magical. So when I first moved here when I was 17 years old, I guess Miami would have been 1988. So it was just before my South Beach took off. It really took off around, at least for me, 90, 91s, 92s. It was like just a great place to go. Now they got crime. Now they got, these events where they have everyone, they call it Urban Week or whatever. They have these events that kind of ruin it. They've ruined South Beach a little bit. But it used to be beautiful. It used to be so much fun to go. So when I first moved here, I mean, I at first I didn't like it. It took me a little bit to grow on me, but then I just loved Florida, and I've been here ever since. I was a bouncer in South Beach for a little bit throughout South Beach and Fort Lauderdale, and I loved it back then. Yeah.
Now people that know me that watch my show know that I'm a diehard Dolphins fan, and I love the U. I'm a Hurricanes fan. Yeah. When they were the U, the U. So I'm a big Miami guy. So what made you? Okay, well, first hop back in high school. Were you a good athlete? Were you a good student? And what made you join the military? And why did you choose the Marines? And then tell us your recruiting story.
Okay, all right, that'll work. Okay, so why did I choose the Marine Corps and when did I join? Right. Okay. So I chose the Marine Corps when I was 14 years old. I tried to join. I wrote a letter to the Marine Corps, and I got that letter back. I got a letter back from a colonel, and it's framed, and I still have it. And it starts off, "Dear Mr. Rivera, thank you for your interest in the United States Marine Corps. However, since you are 14 years old," and then the letter goes on from there. So I always wanted to join the Marines ever since I was a little kid. Interestingly enough, I mean, I was a young kid that was interested in world events, Afghanistan, Russia, all of this stuff that you hear about today, I was into when I was like 12, 13 years old. I've always wanted to be. A matter of fact, I actually tried to join the Mujahideen when I was 17. I didn't join it, obviously, but I looked into it when I was young to fight against the Russians. This is back in like 1988. And I also have a letter. This is when they were our allies and we wanted to go and fight the Russians. So It's interestingly, I always think, imagine what would have happened if I would have went over there, But I stayed on course and I joined the Marine Corps, which is my dream, which I always wanted to do. But at the time, as a young kid, I just wanted to fight. I just felt like the Russians were the bad guys and we have to go out there and help these Afghan people. And we're talking late 80s, way back in the day. But eventually I joined the Marine Corps. I kind of lost my way. South Beach was lots of fun. Miami was a lot of fun back then. And, since I was 14, I wanted to join the Marines and then I forgot all about it. I went to college. I went to get my associate's degree. And then at 23, I actually joined the Marine Corps. And I didn't go active duty. I went reserve. I went reserve for 12 years. Within the reserves, I did 4 years of active duty time, but I was a reserve. I was full reserve for 12 years.
Now, what college did you go to?
I'm sorry?
What college did you go to?
I went to Miami-Dade, and then I went to FIU, Florida International University. And I tell everybody when they ask me, like, what high school to go, I go, I'm a high school dropout with a master's degree, because that's true. So you talk about resilience. Like, I was a high school dropout. What kind of student I was a bad student. I came from a broken home, single mother, coming out of school. People don't understand, when you get out of school with a single parent, it's a lot different, because you get home, you're just by yourself. You know what I mean? So you have no one tell you what you need to do. So you kind of do it on your own and you figure life out. You figure out life on your own that way, So that's how I did it. And then I eventually joined the Marines and went away for 12 years, did that for 12 years, traveled all over. Yeah.
So now, a lot of people, I did 2.5 years active before I got thrown out of the military, came back in, joined the reserve, National Guard, and finished that. And I finished with 23 years total.
Nice.
But, a lot of people don't understand, they think, 2 weeks out of the month, 1 weekend, 2 weeks out of the year, 1 weekend a month, and you're just playing soldier. But they don't realize that a reserve soldier or National Guard soldier will get deployed 2 to 3 times as much as a active duty soldier. And you're not really a soldier and you're not really a civilian. So really you're straddling this fence to where you're held accountable both ways, but you're not getting support both ways. So talk about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, when I hear so much about the reserves trash, well, for one, what people don't understand, that whole every weekend and 1 month, 2 weeks a year, that's the minimum requirement. That's what they always leave out. That's like the minimum. If you want, you have to do at least that. I was in Anglico. I was an Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company, which is, we're a team of JTAC, so we call Joint Tactical Air. We call, we're JTAC, Joint Tactical Air Controllers, but we call Joint Air. We call Naval Gunfire, and we call Artillery. So we do all three. And the purpose of us is to be joined up with a unit that doesn't have those air assets, that artillery, that naval gunfire, which happens to be foreign forces. So like foreign forces, Ukrainians, perfect example. I served and trained alongside the Ukrainians in Iraq. I fought alongside them. But for example, the Ukrainians did not have their own aircraft. They didn't have their own artillery in Iraq. They didn't have any of those assets in Iraq. So they have to rely on American assets. So now our American $1 billion aircraft are going to trust some dude that from another country that they don't know on directing air? Of course not. So that's when they attach a unit like mine. So we worked a lot with soft units. We worked with Army Special Forces, same thing. They're used to what they have, but now we're bringing our Marine Corps arsenal alongside them, which is why we worked with them. We were actually TACON to CIFSOC, Combined Forces Special Operations Component Command, when we were in Iraq in 2003. So we worked with Army Special Forces. We went on missions, we went on operations with the Ukrainians, and did all of that. Now, I have no idea what you asked me, but I went down that rabbit hole to explain what my unit does and our purpose.
Well, it was just that a lot of people, like when I was in,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
if anybody got married, if there was any kind of family function, it was of course going to be on the weekend that I had drill.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you would have back to back drills, and you wouldn't have a day off for like 3 to 4 weeks. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
But as soon as the shit hits the fan, call the National Guard, call the reserves.
Yep.
Yeah, but when it comes to giving health care or giving mental health care, we're always at the back.
Yep.
Of the back of the bus.
Richard, what I tell people, I go, I don't know if you saw it. I'm sure you saw it. You're my age. You saw Die Hard 2 when they changed magazines. They got the red magazines with the red tape, and then they take them out and put blanks, and it's a whole conspiracy. I tell people, I go, you know what? When I went to Iraq, they didn't do that. They shot me with the same rounds that they shot the active duty guys.
Yeah.
And now I remember my point. My point was, with all the training and everything I explained to you what my unit does, how can I do that? Possibly do that, a weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. So I had to do a lot more than that. So I would go for training back to back. So I would do 2 weeks, then I would do 3 weeks, then I would do 2 weeks. I was in college, so I had all this time. Ultimately, I ended up with 6 MOSs. I have 6 MOSs, which is not typical of most people. And that included, and Jump Master doesn't even count as a MOS. But the reason being is I volunteered for everything possible. So yeah, and I understand. And active duty, you're gonna have a person that's more proficient in their job because they do it every single day versus a reserve, but we do it, even if we do it a lot, like I said, it's not going to be as good as an active duty person who does it every single day, but we bring so much to the table. I know I spent 4 years in Iraq. I spent 4 years in Iraq during a war. And I can tell you that the reserve brings a lot because we have that level of maturity. We have older guys that just have common sense. They're not, when we go to war, you see that I guess false motivation in the movies, like, hey guys, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna do like a coach in a football, and man, that's just not real, man. Not when it's 7 grown-ass men going out the wire to do a real mission. We don't do that corny shit because we look at each other like, man, this guy, I gotta listen to this guy now. Like, it's gotta be 100% solid, not some pep talk, because this is lives on the line now, and people don't understand that. Yeah.
And also I think it's different, when you're in a reserve unit, is because when you guys go outside the wire or whatever's going on, say if that Frankie's got your back, Frankie's sister.
Yes.
Frankie's siblings.
Good point.
Your mom is going to see their mom in the grocery store.
Yeah.
So and sometimes when you're in the regular military, you might be with somebody for a couple months and then they go somewhere else.
Never see them again.
You deploy with a unit like that, you guys are like brothers because you'll see each other again once you hit the streets. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it's a lot different. It's like, damn, if Frankie don't come home, my mother's got to see Frankie's mother.
Yep.
And
so I see these people all the time. Even to this day, 20 something years later, these are my friends. These are my family. I mean, I run into their wives now, and they remember. Like, I'll run into like every year we have our Marine Corps birthday. I'll run into wives of my Marines from like 20 years ago when they didn't like me. When they're like, "That guy's a hothead. He's wild," and now they're like, "Man, hey Andre, it's so funny because they're like family. It's over 20 years that I know these folks." But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, and they don't realize that the sacrifices that we make as well. And we do it for a longer time. But yeah, being in combat, these are people that I know their wives, I know their kids. We're right next to each other. We're out the wire. And in 2003, man, it was a different story than later on when we got built up. It was the Wild West, and being a reserve really sucked because we didn't have the budget that other forces had. So we weren't prepared. They sent us to Iraq with M988 Humvees, which are basically pickup trucks. Okay, yeah. If you know about, there's different versions of Humvees. There's the high backs. Yeah. You know how we got our Humvee? When we got to Iraq, we went in M988s driving around. I'm like, how the hell are we going to be surviving here? We were actually in Kuwait. I'm sorry. Before we got into Iraq, we were driving around on M988s. I'm like, this is so unsafe. We're going to get killed out there. So we saw Dermo. That's where they have a big lot where they have all the garbage that they're going to send back to the United States. Well, all this garbage, I peeked a couple of Humvees that looked pretty good in shape. So I went over there. I was like, hey, what do I have to do? I was a staff sergeant. What do I have to do to get one of these Humvees? So it's interesting. Just before we get deployed, some asshole staff sergeant at supply made me sign for $550 cord. we're going to war. And he's asking me, he's going, you got to sign for 550 Corps. So I signed for 550 Corps. I go to Kuwait. I'm like, what do I do to these Humvees? Like, oh yeah, just sign right here. We'll give you all these Humvees. They gave me a fleet of Humvees. They gave me like 6 Humvees, and we drove them back and then gave them out to like 3 or 4 Humvees, because we only had 3 teams out there. And then we gave them to the teams. So our team consisted of a beat up Humvee, the thermal ones that we fixed, and our M988s as the backup to carry the Mark 19s and other equipment. But it was like it was the Wild West. No doors, no armor, no nothing, just driving around Iraq, 0304. So I tell people, I go, guess what? I was in the reserves. You know what I mean? So
yeah. They don't show.
And then I talked to active duty guys, and they didn't even do nothing in Iraq. I'm like, you didn't even leave the wire. What are you talking about? You're gonna talk trash to me?
They don't show it on the recruiting videos at all.
Yeah. They're showing the recruiting.
So
videos.
now, how many years did you do in the military total?
Total 12 years total in the Marine Corps.
All right. So now, because usually that's what I've had over 400 guests, and usually they say once you hit the 10-year mark, it's like either. It's like either, well, if I'm in for 10, I'm in for 20. So what was your thought process in getting out with 12 years? And when you did get out, because, I've talked to a lot of people, and with me getting hurt on duty and they retired me, I didn't go out the way I wanted to. And so, not only did I lose my vision, I lost my career. And then, like Sergeant Nick, my friend Sergeant Nick talks about, once you step off base, the military doesn't give a shit about you. Yeah. And the phone stops ringing. Mm-hmm. So what was your thought process in getting out, and what was your transitioning like?
Okay. Actually, I was very fortunate in my transition. So I went to Iraq 0304. When I got back, I was a private investigator for 6 years. And that's what I did on the civilian side. And when I got back, I wanted to be closer to my son, so I moved out to Tampa. But I was finding it really hard after the war. This is after Iraq, to find work out there. So I'm struggling trying to get work, but I'm in a whole new city. Now down in Miami, I was a great investigator. I had lots of work, but I found myself driving from Tampa to Miami just to get work. But I was doing really well, but it just the commute wasn't working for me. And then I was still in the reserves, and I was going to stay in. But then I got an opportunity to go to Iraq as a government contractor to work on biometrics, which was a word I had to look up. And I still remember it, the physiological measurements of human beings. Because I remember I had to go, the physiological measurements. Here I'm, with a crayon, while I'm chewing on my crayon, I'm like, the physiological measurements of human beings. But I got the job. I mean, they just, basically, this was the qualification was they checked my pulse. They needed a body. They had a new contract in Iraq, and they need to hire people right away that had a secret clearance. I just happened to meet that requirement, and I was willing to go to Iraq, but I was still in reserves. So right there, but here's the thing. They told me the war was over. When we returned from Iraq, they said, hey, mission complete. The war is over. We got some troops out there. And I'm like, yeah, but we have another unit, because they deployed another detachment to Iraq for my unit. And I was like, but they sent another, they're just cleaning up. They're not going to do much, but it lasted for almost another 20 years. But I didn't know that. So at that time, I left a Marine Corps. Like, hey, I joined the Marine Corps to fight. We went for less than a year and the war's over. Why did I even do this? Now I felt like I wanted to go back. So I went back as a government contractor, and I served another 3 years. So I spent a total of 4 years in Iraq. So my transition was easy. I was making phenomenal money for a young guy back then. That's almost 20 years ago. And I was doing really well, working in something I never thought I'd be good at, but I ended up being really, really good at helping develop those biometric capabilities, which are like the BAT system, the BISA, and other last tactical mile for Special Operations Command, because I ended up working for SOCOM, CENTCOM, and the U.S. Army Intelligence Center. And that's what I did for the next 10 years. I mean, I was briefing the Pentagon every 2 weeks on biometrics. I drafted the theater campaign plan for CENTCOM. So I did a lot. I really got out of my comfort zone and I learned so much. I loved being in a joint command because it was an experience that, I mean, I think most veterans don't get to have, working with every command. I mean, I had a colonel who was a Air Force colonel, then I had Army colonel, then I had Marine Corps. I went through everything. Very different vibe, very different feel to have all these different branches in the same office working all together. So that was a great experience.
Pretty amazing, like for me, I was always a tank commander. I had 3 different MOSs. I didn't have 6. I'm not that cool.
No. I was a nerd. That's why I had. Not because I'm cool at 6.
I had 3 different MOSs. I was a tank commander. I was 11 Bravo. And I was also a Cav Scout. But it wasn't until I got hurt that they put me in the TOC, and that's when I really started to understand the big picture.
Deconflicting of fires and
because a lot of times we're just so focused on our thing that we're not really looking at the big picture of the military. So I think that's a great analogy, and especially in business. I think that's something that we will talk about. So when did you start getting bit by the entrepreneurial bug?
Okay, so then when I came back, I worked in that field for the government, and then I decided to go back to school. I went back to school. I acquired my master's in business degree, and I came up with all these high-speed business plans. I was a PMI in the Marine Corps, a firearms instructor. So I was like, hey, I wanted to train folks, but not just in the range where you just shoot at paper targets, but I wanted to get, like, I had airsoft, I had sim rounds, we had access to all kinds of things. This was up in Volusia Gun Club up in Florida, up North Florida by Daytona area, and we could do all kinds of high speed stuff. So I was like, you know what, I wanted to come up with a program where I could bring families, because everybody knows how to shoot paper targets, but they don't know how to clear their rooms. They don't have a plan. If someone breaks in the house, the kids, the wife, they don't have anything. So I wanted to build a whole all-in-one package on how do you protect your house, and then come to our facility where we can make modular shoot houses, but using sim rounds, not using live rounds. And I had this whole plan, but it was so complex and it was so niche that it was very challenging. So I tried other things, and finally I thought of real estate. And I switched into real estate. I had friends that were working in real estate. It didn't sound like something that was very interesting to me at first, but as I got more into doing it, and understanding what it really was all about, I fell in love with it, because I think finding someone a home and helping someone attain the American dream is more than just opening up a door and showing them 4 walls and a roof. It's really talking about understanding their requirements. So it's, in essence, I took everything I learned in the military, requirements, and finding out what the user needs and building towards that, but towards a home. How do they find a home? What's their requirements? I don't just ask, well, you're looking for a 3-bedroom 2. I'll say something like, what are your family dynamics? And I'm trying to meet those requirements. What schools are you? And I look at the whole big picture. I compare the pricing of all the different homes. So then I started with that, and I said, hey, what better entrepreneurial endeavor than getting into real estate and learning the markets and how to invest, etc. Yeah.
Now, and I love, like, when you first said, I had all these plans. One of my favorite, one of my favorite quotes of all time is, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, Mike Tyson.
That, So, but a lot of times people try sticking to the same plan, even though it's not working.
Got to pivot. You got to pivot. Yeah.
So talk to us, because sometimes you're like, all right, because a lot of times you're going to invest a lot of money into these plans, and then they start going belly up, and you don't know when. A lot of people don't know when to cut their losses. Mm-hmm. So how does a person start realizing, all right, this shit is not going to work. I have to figure something else out. How do you go about pivoting?
Well, it's tough. It's tough, but you got to weigh all the pros and cons, and then just take a dig deep, have that intestinal fortitude and say, hey, and be realistic with you, and have a plan. Well, I always believe in having short plans, your 50-meter targets, what I still call a 50-meter target, your midterm plans, 300-meter target, and your 500-meter targets. And when you start seeing that they don't align all together, that's when you start to pivot. When you see that your short goal, your short-term plan is not helping your mid plan or your long game, then maybe you need to shift so they can all align and you can see the big picture at the end. Because that's how you got to work. It's kind of like chess, but when it makes sense, then you start funneling yourself into that direction.
So now, what year did you start getting into real estate?
Oh, 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago, I started getting into real estate. Yep.
So you started getting into it when the market was hot.
No, opposite. I got into it. I got my license the day in Miami that they shut everything down. I'll never forget. They're like, okay, all open houses are shut down. I was like, no, just like that. I was so excited. And then just like that, they shut everything down for a few months. And then the market started picking up, and then things got wild. And that's where we're at now. We're in the Wild West right now. crazy.
So talk to us, because I went through the classes.
Mm-hmm.
I aced every test I took until I got scared,
Mm-hmm.
and I never took the final exam because my mother always told me I would be bad at math, and I was afraid to take the test, so I never took it. Even though
For what? Test for what?
the real estate license.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I went to the classes. I aced everything.
Oh man.
So I mean, I learned a lot about real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it was because I read a book by Sharon Lecter by Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay, so did I. In Iraq, matter of fact, in 2003, I read that book.
Robert Kiyosaki and
Yeah.
Sharon. I had Sharon on the show last month, but I loved. I think everybody should take a real estate course, even if you're not looking to get your license, because you can learn so much about looking at looking at houses and what to look for. Like we bought our house, I think we're going on 10 years now, and it's amazing. Like we used the VA and they were amazing, awesome, have no problem. But a lot of times people, they're looking at the house that they have now, but they don't realize like now I got a 17-year-old, 19-year-old, 10-year. Now there's 5 of us living in this house that was once big enough for 5 small people. So talk to us about looking at in the future for houses that you want, not the house that you're living in right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I tell people that all the time. Like right now, that's a perfect question for like right now, because people are like, should I buy? Should I not buy? Interest rates just took a hike last year. They're around 3%. Just before then, they're at 2.7%, historical lows. Now they're hiking back to 5%. So people are like, oh, I'm going to wait until the market, the bubble bursts and the market crashes, or the market starts slowing down again. Well, I'm not Nostradamus, and I don't want to tell people what's going to happen because I can't control that, but I can tell people based on the trends, there's no indication that mortgage rates are dropping but mortgage rates are going up, and so is appreciation. So appreciation on the average was at 11.74% last year. This year, it's hovering about 5 point something percent, or close to 6%. That's on a national scale. And they're saying by 2023, 24, 25, it'll be about 3%. So when you look at that, you see the mortgage rates hiking up, you see appreciation going up. So you have to ask yourself, what's more important, paying right now or locking in a rate for the next 30 years? And I think that's more important, is locking in that rate in the next 30 years. So then people say, yes, but to win these bids right now, because you have several people bidding on the same home, how do you win a bid? You have to put more extra, obviously, right? So how do you justify that? Because that hurts, taking $10,000. I mean, I don't got $10,000 just laying around to add $10,000. And I just had a client that offered $100,000 above asking price and won the deal just a few days ago. But that's the market that we're in right now. So how do you justify putting that much money down? And I'm not saying to put $100,000. That was an extreme case, and it was over $1 million home. But on an average home, you're gonna have to put 10, 20. So people say, well, how do I put $10,000 or $20,000? Well, you have to justify it. If the appreciation rate is at, especially in South Florida, I'm telling you national appreciation rates, but South Florida is exacerbated. So we're like at 20%. So you look at that on a $100,000 house, that's by next year, you should be at 120. On a $200,000 house, by next year, you should be about 240. So if it's $40,000, if you add extra 10, you're not losing, and you're locking in a rate for the next 30 years. So you got to look at the long game. And I tell people with real estate, every 10 years, a home is going to be double the price, about on average. Most homes double in value in 10 years. So you have to ask. So that's why I'm saying, when I'm looking for someone for a home, there's a lot of different factors. I'm not just saying, okay, you want a 3-2? Let's go look at all these 3-2s. And someone sends me 10 homes, we're probably only going to see 3, because I'm going to do a comparative market analysis on each home before we even go see them. So when we walk in the house, we already know what price it should be at, based on the comparables, of course, based on the current market trends, and if it fits into our plan. So there's a lot more to it than just that. And I'll tell you one thing about the course, though. I agree, Richard, but I also disagree. The course is the course that you took, that we take for the test and everything. Man, 80% of that stuff you will never encounter in real estate. I almost feel like it's just like they're in doc, like they're in doc to get you to pay their extra money and go through their thing. And I think they make money off of people failing the test, and it's to try to keep a certain standard. I guess to see it. If you can pass this test, you're probably a good real estate agent. But that's not true. Being in this business for 2 years, I've run into real estate agents, and I can tell you that I would say, and this might not be good, but most are not squared away, and most don't have that integrity or that hard work ethic that I believe it takes to be proper in real estate. Because you really need to, when you're buying someone's home, that's the biggest single investment of their lives, possibly. And it's going to change your entire life. So you got to take it very, very seriously and do those extra steps that everyone deserves,
Now, like when we bought our home, because, when you have little kids, you're like, man, maybe I should buy a house and I'll put a pool in it and maybe I'll do the in-ground pool. And then my next door neighbor had a pool and they put the house on the market and it sat forever because most people don't realize 80% of the people don't want a pool in their house.
Yeah.
And because first of all, the insurance is so expensive. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it's going to, you got to put up certain amount of fences and all this stuff. So a lot of people looking at the short term and then, I'm going to buy the little pool for my kids. 10 years later, when all they're out of the house, you're stuck with a pool and you're stuck with a house that you can't sell.
Yep.
So a lot of people don't really think about stuff like that until they get into it and they start looking at houses. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of agents are not like yourself, that have the honesty, integrity, transparency. They're like, oh yeah, just the pool's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, I have a guy right now. I'll talk about him. He's not watching, but I have a client right now and I love the guy, but he is out of control because he's desperate to get a home. He's got his own family issues that he wants. He's in a rush to get a home and I'm trying to help him, but he's sending me literally 7 to 10 homes a day to put offers on, sight unseen. He's not even looking at these homes. He just wants to send out offers. So it's really tough trying to explain to him that, hey man, you're making it hard for me. I'm trying to look out for your best interest. Every home that you send me, I'm trying to make sure that it's going to fit in your plan with all your requirements, costs, finances, and it's hard to rein them in and try to get them to just take your advice because it's hard. You're just meeting them for the first time. They're getting to know you. They don't know if they fully trust you yet. And for example, another thing that I just remembered what motivated me to be a real estate agent is when I was making really good money overseas as a government contractor. I bought a home here in South Florida in Tampa, and my real estate agent did not inform me on anything. He kept me uninformed throughout the whole situation. He actually talked me out of using my VA loan, believe it or not. And I was making good money, so I didn't care. And I was just listening to him, and I looked to him like he was the man, like he knew what he was talking about. And looking back, he didn't know anything. I mean, I learned rather quickly after that. But and then that really inspired me too. I was like, man, this was my house, and it was my mother just had a heart attack in Texas, so I bought that was the catalyst for buying the home because I was in Iraq, single, making I was making $150 a year in Iraq just as a young guy with everything. So I didn't need a home, but I wanted to get one for my mom. And then this guy didn't use the VA loan, just didn't go through the right process for me. So I was like, hey, I got to make sure that I do better, and I never do that to someone else, especially a veteran. So that's why I target, and I say patriots. I say patriots and veterans. That's my target demographic. Some people tell me, hey, you shouldn't talk about your politics because I'm not political, but the only thing I ask for is that you love America. If I'm going to help you attain the American dream, you got to love America, or I just don't want to help you. I hope you still get the American dream, but I don't want to be the one to define it for you. Let somebody else find it for you. Not that I don't like you, but I'd rather not, because you got to love America. I don't care your politics. I don't care if you're left. I don't care if you're right. My mother was the biggest leftist that ever walked the earth. She loved Obama. God bless her soul. Love my mom, but that did not change my love for my mother. I didn't love my mother less over these silly politics that are going on, because when you really look at it, yeah.
Like we bought our house with the VA loan, and they were great for us. We use Veteran United, I think. And
yeah, I've heard good things about them. Yeah.
And we never had any problem. I mean, they were really tough on the inspections, which I'm thankful for. I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
They're backing the loan, so they want to make sure that you're not buying.
Yeah. They're looking out for you. Yeah, it's not a problem. It's not a bad thing.
And so, we didn't have the PMI, so that was another big thing. Yeah. So talk to us, for people that are listening, they might not know what the hell we're talking about with a VA loan.
Yeah. Well, there's PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. When you get a loan and you put less than 20% down on the home, okay, for the lender who's lending you the money to buy that home, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, we're going to charge you what we call, private mortgage insurance. we don't know if you're going to be able to pay this. So we're going to charge you a little extra every month. This way, if you default, we're covered. We have insurance that's going to cover us. So it's to protect the lender. Okay. But now the burden goes on to the person who's buying, and they have to pay a certain percentage every month for that private mortgage insurance for their loan. So now when you're injured, when you're disabled, at least 10%, that is waived for the VA loan. Yeah. So now you don't have to pay private mortgage insurance if you're a veteran at least 10% disabled.
Yeah.
Yep. So
and like we didn't have to put any money down.
Yeah.
I think we had to pay closing costs, I think. But, you know, for us, you know, we're looking at, all right, we're paying we were just talking about it this morning before I came down. We were paying $2,200 a month rent. And my mortgage was going to be $2,400. Exactly. So that's a no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer. I tell people you could pay someone else's mortgage or you could pay your own mortgage.
But unfortunately, you know, when you buy a house, like I'm you know, here in Jersey, you know, we bought our house in the summertime, you know, forget when we got 2 feet of snow and you're like, wait a minute, I got to go buy a snowblower. I got to go buy this. But you don't think about that until you own your own home. So it's a totally different mindset between home ownership and renting, right?
100%, 100%. And like I tell people, like I was just saying, like I tell my clients, you have the choice of paying your mortgage or paying someone else's mortgage. And especially right now with rent prices hiking, I'm getting so many, especially right now, I'm getting like the next wave of people because I'm getting all these renters that are now saying, man, this doesn't make sense. I'm paying actually more. In some cases, people are paying more for rent than if they would buy the property and pay for it straight up. So like condos are a perfect example, especially down here in South Florida. Condos, you know, whatever they're paying, you know, they can pay the less and own that same unit in that same condo, you know. And I show it to people all the time. I go, look, you're trying to rent this condo. Look, they just happen to be selling a unit in the same building, and look how much they're selling it for, and look how much the mortgage payment would be. Do you still want it? And they're like, no, you're convinced. And I've convinced people. I'm like, and it's not to be salesy, because I'm straight up. I'm very honest with people. I believe strongly in the relationship versus the transaction, because I can get you once, Richard, right? I can pull a fast one on you, and I'm never going to see you again, and then you're going to talk bad about me, and you're going to kill sales that never happened yet, right?
Yeah.
Or I can do right by you, save you money, still get paid well, but not, you know, but looking out for your best interest. And now you're my living marketer for the rest of my life, because I did well by you.
Yeah.
So I tell people, why wouldn't you recommend Andre? You know that, hey, I just told you I got 6 MOSs. I carried 100 pounds on my back, jumped out of airplanes, did all of that. You don't think I'm going to take a phone call after 5 p.m.? You don't think I'm going to go that extra mile? You don't think I'm going to, at 3 in the morning, if I'm up, I'm going to do something for you looking at homes? Because that's what I do. I mean, I'm a disabled jump master. I jumped out of planes and my back's all jacked up. So I'll wake up at 2. I'll wake up at 11. What am I do? Watch a movie? I'll put a movie on, but I'll be on my computer plugging away. I'm like, hey, I got nothing else to do. Let me try to make some money here and see if I can help somebody that I'm working with. You know, so that's the kind of
you know, and I really love that. Like before I came down here, because my wife works from home, I work from home now doing what I do. But you know, I came across my Facebook page. You know, they're renting a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh man, I've seen these. Yeah,
$1,800
for I saw a shed. I saw a shed the other day with an AC unit, with those old school little AC units plugged right into the side of the shed, like a homeless person, and they're renting it for I think it was like $1,000 a month. I'm like, man, that is jacked up.
Now, you know, like I said, I want to give the shout out to the OVF guys.
Yes, OVF.
Without them, we would never have met.
Absolutely.
And, you know, one thing I really started appreciating about you is once you started, you know, we started working together, putting our funnels together. You were interested in, now you want to hire veterans to help you in your business. You know, like for home inspectors, why not have a veteran home inspector? You know, why not have a construction guy that's veterans? And they're the best people you can get, because you know they're going to show up on time. They're not going to leave until the job is done right. So talk to us about your thought process and what you got going on now, with also not only being a real estate agent, but also putting all veterans together in your area.
Yes, absolutely. So how did we actually start this? Well, The origin story for this is in 2000. I came up with in 2016. I went to Syracuse University for an entrepreneurial program, a 2-month program to help veterans, with their business plans and business ideas. And like I told you, I had all these different plans. And one of the plans was to create what I called a warfighter veteran sanctuary, or WAVES, warfighter veteran sanctuary. What that would be like a facility like the American Legion minus the alcohol. So it would be like a hybrid of an American Legion and a MWR downrange, like those morale, wellness, and recreation facilities that we had downrange. Anyone that's been downrange knows exactly, when I say that, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So remember that vibe. Like, you went there, it was to decompress. You're out there out the wire. We were out the wire all the time. Like, we weren't FOBs. We weren't in the base. We went out all the time. When we got back, we needed to decompress. We go to MWR, relax. They got board games. They got video games. They got, salsa nights, karaoke, things like that, at nighttime, whatever. So it was like our club. It's like our military clubhouse where we can go and decompress and chill out. Well, I wanted to bring that same vibe to a facility here in South Florida, because you get a different vibe at the American Legions. I mean, we have a great American Legion here in Riviera Beach, but that is an exception. Most places you're going to go there, they just have the bar, they have alcohol. You sit there, you drink, you're not productive. Alcohol is an actual scientific depressant. Back in the 40s and World War II, maybe they didn't know that when they created these American Legions, VFWs, but now we know for a fact that it's a depressant that helps, that enables veterans to kill themselves. So we shouldn't be encouraging it. Now, I drink. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a hypocrite, but I think having a facility that just enables that is not a good thing. So I wanted a facility that had more organic things, jujitsu, cages, so we can work out together. But most importantly, and this is where we're going to get into the Vetprenuer, most importantly, I wanted a business center. I wanted veterans to have a place to go to be productive, not to just sit around and drink, but to be like, hey, man, you're motivated as hell. You got attention to detail. You own a what? You're a carpenter, or you're a plumber. Well, should I do this? We should be talking. We should be working together. And especially as a realtor, I'm a natural sales funnel, because when I sell a home, I need a house inspector. I need a pest control guy. I need plumbers, electricians. I need all of that. But it goes more than that. It's good also as a realtor, not just those basic things, but maybe you run into someone who's like, hey, yeah, I'm having a party. We just moved. We're having a party. I'm like, well, I know a DJ. A veteran DJ, I got a Marine DJ. I know, we would like someone to sing songs or do rapping or whatever. We got a poet, a hip hop artist. We got just about everything, like anything you can imagine. So, but back to Syracuse University. So I briefed this idea of a veteran sanctuary where veterans can come and be productive in business and have a place to go. But it's a bridge too far. And it's still my goal, but that's a 500-meter target. Again, remember we talked about aligning those plans. So that's what I'm working on. So I said, let me try something smaller, lower hanging fruit, something that's attainable. So I created a website, Vetprenuer, www.veteransresource.network. And basically right now it's a vendor list of over 50 veteran owned and operated businesses here in South Florida. We meet every month. We have a podcast every month, or we're trying to. We haven't had it in a couple of months. But we try to have a podcast every month, and we refer business to each other. But our goal is to develop into a business incubator. So for young veterans coming off of active duty or reserve or wherever, and they're trying to find out what to do with the rest of their lives, they have a place to go to and have mentors that can help them. So we have over 50 veteran businesses. So it's like whatever you're interested in. If you're interested in being a real estate agent, a loan officer, inspector, what have you, general contractor, whatever, we got 50 guys you can talk to, and they can give you guidance. And they would love to take a young veteran. I mean, who would say no to that? Not in our group, but nobody would. If you're an older veteran, you get a young 19, 20-year-old kid, and he's like, man, I just got off active duty. I got all this BAH. I got all this GI Bill. Not sure what to do with it. Not sure what I'm going to do. I just want to go to college and get the BAH, the extra housing pay to pay my bill, or do something productive. So I want to be like, nah, man, I want to be the big brother that says, hey, come here, you little brother. Let's help you out. What is it that you're interested in? Oh, I'm not sure. Talk to this guy, talk to this guy, talk to this guy. He's a plumber, he's an electrician, whatever. They can give you some guidance. They can tell you how to start your business. So that's how it changed from a hard facility to just something that's attainable. But now and I never planned on it being a 501c3 because I never saw the purpose of them. Like, hey, we're just a bunch of business owners that are coming together. But now with the 501c, that really opens up the doors, because we can now ask for donations to help and build this capability where we can be a business incubator for young veterans, and we could have the money to train them and teach them and getting them into jobs. And why do I do all this? So that's the main thing. What's the why behind all this whole business that I'm talking about? Well, the main thing is I did the statistics. I looked at all the statistics on suicide with veterans. So it comes back down to that. Even though you don't see it in the front, which is great because it doesn't cause a stigma. Veterans have a hard time seeking help and saying, I'm broken. I'm broken emotionally. I'm broken physically. We have a hard time admitting that. Okay, because we've been built. Suck it up. You know, you don't fall out of no hump. You better not fall out of a hump. You know that I never fell out of a hump, and I'm proud of that. And that's so funny that I'm 50 years old, 20 years out of military. I'm like, I never fell out of a hump. But you know how much that destroyed my back? Well, there was times I should have fell out of that hump. And you know what? Now I look back and go, man, I should have just got on that truck and made it back, you know. But yeah, so I'm paying for it now. But okay, where was I now? So with all the suicide's actually increasing now. It's actually getting worse. And I can show you the stats. The VA is putting more money, investing more money into suicide prevention than ever, even after World War II, even after all. And I know not matching dollars for dollars, you know, apples to apples, not apples to oranges. Using the same conversion rate, we're still throwing unprecedented, exponentially more than we ever did before. Yet the suicide rate is actually increasing. And I show this in my briefing. I'm like, what is that? What is that? We're putting all this money because we're putting money in the wrong solutions. We're putting crisis hotlines. If a veteran calls a crisis hotline, it's already too late. We don't need 5 crisis hotlines. Are not going to solve the problem. I think they're good. They're excellent, but they're not going to solve the main issue. That's like once it's already too late. That's like chemo at that point. You know, it's really tough. We want to get there before they get to that point. And I think this is the best preventative maintenance. Why? Because when we were on active duty, when we served our country, we had purpose, we had stability, and we had a routine. When we get back and transition to the civilian sector, many times we lose 1, 2, or all 3 of those. And I'm oversimplifying it, but we lose a lot of that. What we had, we were proud to wear our uniform. We were proud to have purpose. I was a sergeant. I was in charge of all these people, multi-million-dollar equipment. And now I'm over here working at Publix or working at Walmart or not working at all and trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. So then you wonder, well, I think that has a lot to do with suicide. Now, if we can give veterans stability, routine, and purpose, and I shouldn't say give, they can get it. We give them the opportunities and give them the guidance. I think it's a very powerful thing. I think this is how we defeat suicide, you know, is by getting the best solution is us. Because no one understands us than us. But we can't just like have outings like, hey, we're going to meet every week and just talk. I got to have purpose. I got to add that purpose layer to it. I'm like, we're going to meet every week and talk, but I'm also going to give you purpose that give you drive and give you that routine and give you that stability. And that's going to mitigate the opportunity to hurt yourself or, you know, have anxiety or depression.
And, you know, I think a lot of the veterans that are getting back now, like you said, the numbers in the AMVETs, the VFWs, they're all declining. Yeah, because you know the guys are getting back and they want to do shit.
Yeah,
you know I think like I'm becoming involved with Irreverent Warriors.
Yes, me too. I love them. Yeah,
you know they want to get back. They want to go hiking. They want to go fishing. You know they want to. They don't want to sit around and get liquored up at the VFW, the AMVETs. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not that way anymore. And I think you know a lot of them are going to close because you get. You know, you get a 28-year-old kid, you know, in my eyes, he's a kid.
Yeah, me too.
You know, back from Afghanistan, you know, he's going to want to go tubing. He's going to want to go fishing, camping. Yeah. He's not going to want to sit around and get liquored up, you know.
100%. And that was the whole concept. It's like we're different. And I've gone and people go, well, this is what I hear all the time too, Richard. They go, don't reinvent the wheel. Go talk to the American Legion. Go talk to VFW. Man, for the last almost 20 years, I got out in 06, so almost close to 20 years, or at least 15 years, I've gone to them. And I've been a member of VFW. I'm very involved. I'm actually the junior vice commandant of the Marine Corps League, Detachment 1058 down here in South Florida. So I'm very involved. I'm involved with the VFW, been members. I volunteered there for 8 months where I was there all the time. I American Legion, all of those. And every time I ask them, they don't want to hear it. Most of them. Now, the American Legion here in Rivera Beach is 268 is outstanding. They'll let you do most anything that makes sense. You know, it's just a little ways for me, but most of them do not. So you know, we do want to. And for example, Irreverent Warriors. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a place like wherever, because they have them all over the states. What if, hey, we're going to meet at the Warfighter Sanctuary and we're going to take the hike from there. You go into our sanctuary, we got cages to work out, we got jiu-jitsu mats, we got TVs, we got Xboxes linked together so people can play together and hang out, because that's what we did. People go, well, why video games? I'm like, because we were in Iraq and there was nothing to do. That's what we did. I played Halo. We had Halo on a TV this big, man. Yeah. With the screen cut this way, and we're just sitting there. and it would decompress. And I tell people, I go, you don't understand how therapeutic that was. I'm in the middle of a war zone where mortars are coming in, and you could hear the mortars coming in, and we're just chilling, and I'm there with my team, and we're just like, the first week we're running under the bunkers. The second week we're like, man, if it's our time, it's our time. And we're just sitting there playing our Halo.
But it's amazing. Like I tell my wife, some of my best memories were sitting around a TV this big,
it's like,
watching a movie from home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so, like now, like you said, we met in OVF, and, there's a lot of people that have an excuse. Well, like if I'm disabled, well, I can't leave the house. Well, the guys at OVF, they will teach you to start a digital business to where you don't have to leave your house. Like for me, now my book is digital. It's evergreen. It's everywhere. But, so talk to us a little bit about, what OVF, what they taught you and what you learned. And, because during that time, like you said, there was like a 6 month to a year lag where you couldn't go into people's houses, or so you had to start relying more on the digital age. So talk about moving into the digital age.
Well, yeah, it's very critical. You have to. The sales funnels and everything we learned from OVS, phenomenal content. And the thing is, I really want to take them take my people to the next level through OVF, because we have 50 businesses, and those sales funnels for most of those businesses are very in line, with helping what they can do. Pest control, health insurance, anything. You can make a funnel just about everything. I would love to bring that to my guys, because right now it's just, they're doing it traditionally mostly. Most of the part is traditional. Some of them do Facebook ads, but I want to bring everything that I learned from OVF to those guys and get them going. And that's where the 501c3 comes in, because now we can get donations if people want to help. But we're not asking for money individually. We're just saying, thank you for your service. Hire a veteran. Hire one of us. We're going to be, like you said, we have incredible work ethic, incredible attention to detail, discipline, integrity. We're going to be there on time. So and you get all of that for free. You don't have to pay extra for all of that. You get a veteran for that, and you get to be patriotic and thank a veteran for their service with more than just words, because you hear that all the time. You hear thank you for your service, and I always carry my business card. And as soon as I hear that, it's like I'm like the Wild West. I pull out my card. I'm like, now you can. Here you go. And then I explain to them what we are. Yeah.
Now, okay, let's talk, for the last couple of minutes we have, like you were saying, with some of the VFWs or AMVETs, or even businesses, a lot of businesses think, well, this is the way we've always done it, and like for me, I ran a GNC for over 30 years, and right next door was Radio Shack. They're gone.
They're gone.
Right next door Sears. They're gone. So, because they never decided, all right, well, evolve into the new digital age.
Yeah.
So talk to us, like sometimes when you talk to a business owner and, they'll be like, well, this is the way we've always done it. Like I've heard that if somebody goes to the Shark Tank and say, well, this is the way we've always done it, they're like, well, can't help you. If you're willing to evolve, I can't help you.
Yeah.
So what is that like, when you're talking to, some of these younger guys or people trying to get into business and they still want to do it the old fashioned way?
No, you got to jump with the times. I use examples. Like, for example, even in real estate, just 2 years ago when I was starting, it was all like referral based, me going out there and trying to meet people, which is great. I mean, I love it. There's nothing like meeting people in person and everything, but to get a bigger audience, you just can't be everywhere at once. So I still go to networking events as much as I can to meet people one-on-one. And I'm not the best at that, but I'm better. It's better. I think it's better in general to meet people and engage in person as you can. But the digital world, it's critical right now. It's critical. You're not going to get the reach that you potentially can. And so for example, I've started to put a lot of content. Not a lot, but I'm starting to, because most people don't like themselves on video. I hate myself on video. I hate my voice. I hate to look at myself. I hate to watch the videos of me later. I'm like, oh, cringe. What'd I do that for? What'd I say that thing? I should have said this. But you just got to go out there and do it. And I started doing little videos here and there, just explaining what I do, explaining the different nonprofits, which I do want to talk about 2 nonprofits before we pop smoke, because they're in our network as well. And they're doing great things. So, all
right, who are they? Just while we're there.
While we're doing it. Okay. Yeah. So we have Semper Fi Service Dogs, which is an awesome organization. And there's a great story behind that. So Semper Fi Service Dogs, what they do is they rescue dogs, right? I'm a board member of Semper Fi Service Dogs. They rescue dogs, train those dogs, and then train those dogs to rescue veterans and become service dogs for veterans. And it's not like a fire and forget. This is what I really love about this organization, is that it's not fire and forget. It's not like they train, get a dog, get money, and it's not like this. It's driven by a man that is like, he has 100% passion for what he does, and he cares about the veterans that he has. And he's a hard charger. He's like a drill instructor. You know what I mean? Ryan Onda. So basically, what they do, they train these dogs, but then it's not fire forget. They have outings. So they have monthly outings where they all get together like a pack. So they'll have like 8 veterans with their dogs to make sure that they maintain the training of the dog, but it's also for the individual also. It's for the individual. It's for the dog to maintain the proficiency in because the service dogs can lose their training after time. So you have to maintain that. Great program and very passionate. And he's lost some veterans. You know, he's lost veterans to suicide. And you know, and I've received those phone calls from him where I have to talk to him, and it's tough. You know, when you're that close to the fight. I'm not that close to the fight because I don't deal with what he's dealing with on a daily basis. He's dealing with folks that are on the edge and they need a dog and they need something to keep them hanging here on this side of this side of life, you know. So he's dealing with that every day. So that's I just want to talk about them real quick. Semper Fi Service Dogs, great organization. And I believe it's www.semperfiservicedogs.org.
Well, when we log off, I want you to put it in the chat.
Yeah, roger that. We'll do.
This way they can get in touch.
Oh, and the last thing about him, so that Ryan, incredible story. So check this out. So I hear about Semper Fi Service Dogs. I meet one of the instructors, and I invite him over. He's like, well, I'm going to bring my boss too, the owner, the CEO of Ryan Onda. So he brings him over. He gets to my podcast. I look at him. He looks at me. I go, you look familiar, man. We start talking. Turns out he went to basic Marine Corps training, combat training with me 20 plus years ago. He's from Jersey. I believe he's from Edison, New Jersey, and I live in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. I live in Perth Amboy by Newark. That's right. I used to go to Newark to get my clothes, by the way, and in the train. And I ran into him. We looked at each other right away. We knew each other. I invited him to Miami 20 years ago. We lost track of each other, and he moved from Jersey to Florida, and here we are. We just ran into each other, and I'm a board member of his organization. But that's how crazy the military world is. The next nonprofit I want to talk about really quickly is Vets on Board. So Vets on Board was started by a CEO. The CEO is Bob Smith. Bob Smith is a great friend of mine. I met last year, and he's blind. He's blind. He doesn't see black. He sees silhouettes, but he can't see faces. He thought I was a black guy because I guess my voice. He thought I was black for like the longest time until like recently. I'm like, no, man, I'm Puerto Rican, Ecuadorian. What are you talking about? But he can't see faces. He's blind, and he's been working on boats since he was 13 years old. And now, when he lost his sight 5 years ago, he's been working on boats just with his hands. But it's getting really tough. So he created this nonprofit to help because when he was blind, he died 5 times while in the coma. He died 5 times. So when he was going through all of that, he couldn't do anything, and he wanted to kill himself, and he was going through suicide. So like you're starting to see a pattern here. These are all folks that went through some hard time and said, you know what, I want to do something to make things better, including myself. That's what inspired me too. And he created the Vets on Board, which just got a 501c3 designation, and it's to do aqua therapy for veterans in the water, snorkeling, fishing, anything, get them on the water. We're going to have an all women's day. So it's just women captain because some women just want to be alone. No guys around. We're going to do that as well. And it's also going to be for first responders. He's opening it up also for first responders. So those are the nonprofits that are in our network. Yeah. And
I definitely want you to drop those links in chats and stuff like that so we can get in touch. And hopefully I would love to have them come on the show.
Oh, absolutely. I would love that.
And to support, anybody that we can support. I'm all about it. So last 2 questions I have.
Sure.
So how do we find you? How do we support your mission?
Okay. You can find us on our website, www.veteransresource.network. If you're a veteran here in South Florida, or actually if you're a veteran anywhere in the United States that can supply whatever your service or product to folks in South Florida, you can join my network. That's the only requirement, that you're a veteran and that you can support folks in South Florida. Because if you're in Utah and you have a business, it doesn't help my network down here. Eventually, now my solution is scalable. I'm hoping one day we have a veterinet in every major city, but right now we have to create the model first. So we're in South Florida. So if you have a business that, for example, has coffee, you can join my network and you can advertise coffee because you can send the coffee, right? So you can still support people in South Florida. Or if you're the OVF team and you can help people with the digital content and courses, absolutely, please sign up. I've asked them to too. They can definitely sign up so that veterans have access to that as well. So that's all my only requirement as far as that. And then you'll find our 50 businesses there. So if you need a plumber, if you need a general contractor, if you need an electrician, you need whatever you need, you go to our website and hire a veteran, and that's how you think of veterans. So that's how you find us.
All right. What about your podcast?
Our podcast is once a month, and I'll have to have the link for that. We're doing it on Twitch right now, but that may change in the future. I'm not sure, but yeah, I can put the link for that as well.
All right. So last question, and I'm going to ask it in two parts because veterans, we have different things that we deal with than the average person. So I had one of the Iron Chefs on last week, Simon Majumdar from the Food Network. And he was talking about how, especially in Florida and Jersey, we've lost over 100,000 restaurants since COVID started.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of parents that are driving Uber, DoorDash, just trying to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And, if you ask the average American to do something in 7 days, they're never going to get to it because we're so busy and crazy.
Yeah.
But if somebody's listening to our show and we ask them to take a actionable step in the next 24 hours, they're more than likely. So I'm going to ask you a two-pronged question.
Okay.
If somebody is struggling with their business, what can they do in the next 24 hours to get some help? And second, and most of all, if somebody is struggling with their mental health, what is something they can do in the next 24 hours to get some help so they don't become a member of the 22?
Wow, those are tough questions. So let's start with the first one. What was the first one? Can you say it one more time?
So if somebody is struggling with their business and they want to, start getting their business out there more, starting to become more successful in their business, what are some actionable steps they can take in the next 24 hours?
Well, I would say if you're in South Florida, contact me, contact the Veterans Resource Network, because that's what we're all about. We constantly get veterans in and we try to give them guidance on how to start a business or get going or shadow one of us and mentor. And I have case studies where that's happened, where we've taken veterans in and they've gotten a job just within our network. But within 24 hours, I would try to see what kind of resources are out there to start building your business from within, using sales funnels, getting in contact with the OVF team, finding out what you can do, finding out what they can do to help you do your business, because they can help in pretty much any kind of business that you're thinking of. Because basically what they do is they're a sales funnel is basically getting the folks that are interested in what you're selling and removing the folks that are not. So you can do intelligent targeting towards the people that are actually interested in what you're saying and find that niche. And the best folks to do that would be the OVF team. So that would be my one. Yeah, that would be my one piece of advice for folks. Or if you're in South Florida and need help, give us a call. I am not although I have a master's in business, I am by no means a master of business, but we have again, it's the power of the network. And I think that's really how you get help is you reach out to other veterans, man. We're not gonna say no. Most of us are not gonna say no. We got our 10%. We always have our 10%, but most veterans, we love each other's company. We connect really quickly. And I tell people the reason the magical dynamic is because if you join the Elks Club or the Masons Club, all you got to do is know somebody in there. You got to know Joe. If you know Joe, you're in. To join our club, you have to have served. You have to have been in the grind. You have to be,
you have to raise your hand. Yep.
That's right. There's a process. So right away, you can have a completely different background, different music, different culture, different everything, but we have a commonality. And that's what distinguishes us from the Elks Club and the Masons and every other group out there. So I believe our network is underexploited. It's underutilized, but has extreme potential power. So to answer that question is reach out to your veterans, reach out to successful veterans. Rarely will a veteran push you aside and say, I don't have time for you. I've never encountered that ever. Every time I've reached out to a veteran and say, hey man, I really need help with this. Because this was a whole new business to me 2 years ago. And now I'm doing well. Absolutely reached out to veterans and in turn, reach out to us as well. We're there for you. That's our whole purpose. My whole purpose is here. I tell people I'm like the Flava Flav or the Don King of veteran businesses, because I'm trying to promote my businesses. I'm trying to promote the veterans out there because I really sincerely believe that this is a solution for anxiety, depression, and suicide. When you have veterans working, when you have veterans with purpose, they're not going to kill themselves. And when they're working with other veterans, they're going to be too ashamed to. They're, I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but it's very unlikely. When you wake up and you say, hey man, I got a podcast with Richard. I better be on time. I better have all my shit together. I better, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Yeah.
I love it. So guys, make sure you check him out. Make sure you follow him what he's doing. He's doing great things. Whenever we get out to Florida, I can't wait. Yeah. Can't wait to come out, hang out, eat some paella, eat some good food. First, I want to thank our sponsors, OVF. Guys, if you're a veteran, you want to start a business, this is the team you need to talk to. They're not going to jerk you around. And they actually have a 12-week course that we went to, that we've got involved in, coming up to where you can actually go for free and learn everything. So check out OVF. Guys, if you love coffee and you want some free coffee, this coffee shipped to your house, write coffee in the comments. You will actually be eligible to win it. And we are also entering you into our elite newsletter, where every week on a Thursday, you're going to get hints and you're going to get master classes from today's thought leaders and game changers. Some 7, 8, and maybe 9-figure earners are actually going to be able to go to your inbox every week, and it's totally free. So just write coffee down below. Brother, I'm so grateful for your friendship, and I can't wait to see what you got coming up, man.
All right, me too.
All right, brother.
Well, thanks, Richard. Thank you so much for having me, brother.
All right, guys, just remember vertical momentum. The only way to go is up. Love you guys.